Welcome to the show, The First Generation Mindset. First Generation Mindset is about taking nothing for granted, waking up every day and striving for excellence. Through my book, I talk about the framework of vision, value, ask. First generation mindset applies to you if you were the first one in your family to come to America, first one to be a business owner, first one to be a single parent. It's always challenging to be the first one to do something in your family. But as we go down generations, our kids and grandkids take it for granted. And my intent through this book is to reactivate people's first generation mindset and stay engaged and stay activated. Today I'm excited to engage with my very good friend, Alym Lakhani. Alym came to America when he was just 19 years old. And over all these years, he has been a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, and currently he's in the business of retail for cell phones. And he owns and operates not one, not 10, not 20, not 50, not 100. He owns and operates over 150 retail stores for cell phones in not one but 4 states. And his brand is called Purely Wireless. I'm inspired what Alym has accomplished the last few years, going from 0 to 150 stores in 4 states. Excited to have you today, Alym.
Happy to be here, Kunal. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And, always inspiring to be around you and listen to you, and glad to be a part of the show.
Absolutely. So you shared growing up, when you were growing up in India, your family had several businesses. While you were never engaged in the businesses directly, but you would be shadowing your dad, shadowing your family members, and seeing them hustle all the time. And you shared that you were, in a way, born in a family of entrepreneurs. And that's when you came to America at 19 years old, being an entrepreneur was second nature to you. Share with me, growing up, what did you see in your family's business, certain aspects of the hustle or drive? What got you wired to be an entrepreneur, Alym?
So, Kunal, for me, one of the questions that you asked me was what made me, or what was my calling. And I feel like before I was anything else, I was an entrepreneur. I was born and grew up in a business family, and that's all I saw around me. Even while I was in school, I would always somehow gravitate towards people that were from business families as well. And then somehow just through those times, it would somehow deflect me from being a good student, one of those studious kids. I was never one of those.
Sure.
I was always somewhere mediocre in the class.
But you passed every time.
I would pass every time,
Sure.
But I was not one of those meritocratic students or
Yeah.
the first in class. I was somehow more of, I wouldn't say a backbencher, neither a front bencher. I was maybe like a middle bench.
Okay.
not a troublemaker, neither an A student. However, while during that time, I would always make me think a little differently. And like you talked about my father, I would see my father. I was never directly involved in my family business. However, I was always an observer, so I would see their transactions and their business dealings, and just the way they would talk to people, how they would understand the other person's mindset, and that made a huge impact to me.
So it's been a few years, but if you reflect back on, are there specific instances or interactions or data points from your growing up watching your dad's family business? What is something that stands out to you that has a big imprint on who you are today?
So my family has, I'm originally from Hyderabad, which is in the south part of India. And my dad has been involved in his family business, which is over, maybe at that time was 50 years old. Now it's over 70 years old. And for me, I saw my dad doing this day in, day out, every single day. He would go to his shop in the morning. He would be there till late in the night. While growing up, obviously, I didn't think too much of it because it was second nature to us. However, as I got a little older, you start thinking about balance and family life, and I would always think that how come my dad is, like compared to the other dads, he's not spending as much time with his family. But then past that, I started realizing that that's his nature. That's just who he is, and that's what makes him happy. And as growing up, when I saw that, and your question was, what impact was it to me? It was basically just seeing him do this day in day out, and not chasing other things, or not chasing other people, or other validations from other people. This was just what he was doing. So just that discipline, and that commitment to his business and to his family, I think that has had a big impact on me.
So his focused dedication, what you saw, was amazing. But as a young kid, when your dad was not spending as much time with you, you'd probably not like it as much. Not similar, but when I was growing up, my dad was extremely strict with me, about discipline, doing the assignments, getting tutored, teaching me, and, sometimes even getting beaten up. So I made a decision that that's aspect of my dad's upbringing, I do not think of it as positive. So I consciously make an effort that with my two boys, I'm more friendly with them. I'm not as strict with them. I let my wife be the bad cop at home, and I be the good cop, generally speaking. And I've seen you. I know we live in the same neighborhood. You have three young kids. The amount of time that you spend with your kids, you go biking with your kids. I see, you also motorbike. You should take your daughter and your boys around on
Your
spin.
kids as well.
My kids as well. You're the neighborhood biker. All the kids wait for their turns to take rounds.
Joyrides.
But from the outside, when I see you engaging, I know last few years you've been involved with Boy Scouts. You've gone for camps with your older son. These are aspects which are reflective about the importance you play in bringing your kids well, spending time with them. And that's what I want to highlight to you, Alym, where something that was missing for you, potentially, when your dad was focused, dedicated in building a business which was over half a century old, and he was dedicated over there, but you wanted to get something more out of that, which was not possible. So now I see that you're doing the opposite and trying to spend more time with kids. Is that a fair kind of assessment?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. So from what I saw that I missed out as a kid, and what I felt like, not just me, but I felt like even my dad missed out as a part of him being a father as well, for all the time that he spent busy and in his business. That was the time that he missed out from his family. And in the big picture, sometimes I feel like, does it even matter, right? Because we are not a part of my dad's business now. We've come to a different country. We're in a completely different business, and we're nowhere involved with what he has built. Thinking that might be something that he's building for his family, but it was pretty much something that he's built for himself, and he just got involved with that. But again,
Right.
that was the reality on the ground at that point of time. But for me personally, I think I place a lot of importance on the balance, where I make a conscious effort to make sure that I do not get too engrossed in the business. And as you and several other business owners will agree, is that business is never ending. You can
Right.
spend as much time, you can spend your days and your nights, and it still will not be enough. You can just be doing this all day long, all night long, and there's still more to do.
Right.
So I make sure that on weekends I disconnect from the business. I'm spending time with the kids. I'm spending time with my wife. We are doing things together as a family, and that brings me a lot of joy. Spending time with friends, having a good time with them. That those things bring me a lot of joy and pleasure.
We all strive based on the ethnic background we are from, that we want to make our next generation's life better. Right? And your dad was working hard to make your and your brother's life better by running this business. But uprooting yourself from India, coming to America when you were 19 years old, and you were in New Jersey, got your undergrad there, you were relatively young, but you came to America with certain drive and hunger, certain vision. Do you mind sharing with me, Alym, when you first came to America, it was landing in America is a big accomplishment. Doing your undergrad is another accomplishment. How did you go about your life where coming to America, then getting into being an entrepreneur, and of course now you have 100 plus stores. Share the journey how you got into America and then your undergrad and how did you get the retail business of cell phone?
So I finished my 12th in India, which is high school, and I moved to the U.S. For my undergrad. I went to a university in New Jersey, which is Rutgers University, and that's where my journey started in the U.S. I did my 4 years of undergrad. I had an uncle and an aunt in New Jersey who were gracious enough to bring me in, to keep me in their house for all those years. And I'm still very bonded and very attached to them, and I've learned a lot from them as well. While I was in college, I was living the student life. I was just focusing on on my academics, and I was an international student, so the fees for international students is very high. So I was trying to figure out the fee situation. I was also trying to figure out being in a new country, in a new culture, making friends. And obviously I was young. I was 19 years old, so I was looking to have a good time as well. And during that process, while trying to do all of that and balance all of that, there was a lot of learning for me on the day-to-day struggles and the hustle, and I really enjoyed that, and that helped me be a part of who I am now. On another day I'll tell you, but it's been a fun time. It's been a struggle, but when you look back at those moments, those are just sweet memories. At that time, you feel very miserable,
right?
And it feels like, hey, what am I even doing here? Because we left a good life in India to come here, and over here you're walking around in negative weather in like 5 degrees, and you're walking from the train station to college, and you're just not knowing what the next step is going to be like.
It's always an adjustment, and it came similar age profile as you when I first came to America. And while India has 1.4 billion people, and India is the largest English-speaking nation, but there's so many adjustments you and I had to make when you came to America. Being an international student, we come on a student visa. Then we have to make sure we have enough income to live off the expenses and, pay for the tuition fee and everything else. But the adjustments we have to make, yes, we spoke English in India, but you have to correct your accent, you have to speak more slowly, you have to not head bob and do all those things.
Yep.
But, I remember being 19, 20-year-old when I came to America, I thought I had a sense of dressing, but I don't have the sense of dressing the American way. I would wear brown shoes with black belts, and I would, I would tuck in my shirt or T-shirts. It was too Desi style, right? But then I had to learn and adapt, and I have to be more American, dress up in an American way, talk in an American way. These are small things that take a lot of energy and effort while you are focused on the academics, because if you don't get the grades, then you'll be out of the program. And these adjustments are major adjustments, and which I went through just like yourself. That's interesting. How did you get in the retail business of cell phone? Was it first you worked in a store, Alym? Did you get inspired by that? How did you get in that business?
So just to take a step back, since we were on the topic of my undergrad and my college. So while I was in college, I started. I figured out this opportunity where I was buying and selling electronics online. So at that time, this was
it eBay?
In 20 years ago, where eBay and Amazon was not even in the picture. Amazon was just a bookstore.
Correct.
eBay was the online marketplace where they would have online auctions. So I slowly and steadily, I figured out I would buy electronics online, and I would sell them online. I would take better pictures, and I would sell them online, and that became like a little cottage business for me from home. And I started doing that, and slowly and steadily it started picking up to where I was doing this, and I was making a decent amount of money as well, enough to actually pay my college tuition. And slowly I started recruiting people from campus. I would hire other students from campus to start to actually do the sales for me. At that time, eBay was a pretty intense business because you would have to talk to the customers, and you would have to deal with the eBay regulations and just have a PayPal. and all of that. So I actually hired a few people, and I would pay them a commission, and they would do all the sales for me.
Wow.
And then slowly, we branched out, and at one point, while I was in college, I had 20 people doing the sales for me. So I would focus on the buying, and then they would do the sales. So
Wow.
I did that for a while. I enjoyed it, and it was
That's hustle. That's drive. I love it. So while you were doing your own stuff, so can I also say that when you were recruiting other people, that of course allows you to grow more, but you were also sharing the wealth with the other 19, 20 kids,
right.
right? Which is, I believe, is an abundance mindset. Because you could have said, well, I'm sourcing these electronics, which is the most challenging part, finding a good deal and finding what's underpriced, but then marketing it effectively to get a higher price. You could have put more hours and kept all the money, but you shared that wealth with other people for a commission structure. So you were helping other kids also be more successful.
Yep.
So that's where in America you started hustling.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes, yep. It was a good time. It was a win-win situation because
Yeah.
the people that were they were doing it. They were doing something bigger than working. Working wherever they would be working on campus or so. And then for me, it was making my life easier because I had this, and it also was a sense of community because we
Correct.
would always talk. We would talk to each other, and we would try to find solutions to problems together.
Wow. So first stint in America, you became an employer. You had 20 people. Did you offer some benefits? I'm just kidding. Maybe some beers at times. So that was
Yep,
college
beers at
for
times
you.
for sure. Yes.
How did the journey happen? What happened after that, Waleem? Walk us through it.
So after I finished my undergrad, I had family in Houston that I would come visit over the years. And what I saw during my visits during the Christmas holidays and during the summer breaks, I would come here and spend like a week or so. And I saw that Houston was a much more relaxed atmosphere. People were spending more time with their families. In New Jersey and New York, it's a very intense it's like a rat race. People are rushing to the train station in the morning, trying to get to the city because a lot of people are working in the city. And then in the evening, they're coming back, spending an hour on the train, and then they have a limited time. And in spite of all the struggle, I would just see people just, very, they had this tunnel vision and they wouldn't really see outside of that. And when I moved here, I saw that there was, it was different. I wouldn't say good or bad. Every place has its own benefits. But it was just different, and I felt like for my personality, this suited me more, because I was also a little relaxed and laid back, and I was like, hey, it's easier over here, so why not consider?
And it was warmer.
Here.
It wasn't that cold.
Yes, the weather was definitely better.
Yeah.
The streets were wider, the houses were bigger, the cars were bigger, and overall, it was just a more family oriented atmosphere over here. So that attracted me to come to Houston.
Okay.
And I was trying to figure out what to do next. And at that time, my business was doing okay. So I figured I could do it from
The same business?
The same business.
Oh, you continued in Houston.
So I continued. I figured, let me move it over here since the cost of living is cheaper over here.
Yes.
And even though I graduated from college, I had my undergrad degree in finance. I never ever felt like I would want to go work for anyone. So I never got that corporate experience. I never got that corporate job.
Okay.
And in hindsight, sometimes I feel like I should have, just so I could have learned the corporate way. But that was just something where that never happened for me. It was just straight from zero to being an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. Okay. So when did you get into cell phone retail business?
So in the wireless retail business, so it's a funny story. When I moved to Houston, I was like I told you, I was doing this online business.
Right.
And then over time, there's always ups and downs. And I went through this downtime where there was some regulations changing, and also I got stuck in a few bad deals as well, which really took me back. So during that time, it was not a very comfortable time for me. I was, let's just say that I wasn't too happy about what was going on. And in fact, at that point, I was even thinking of moving back to India. Like I told you earlier, my parents, they were like, if you're, when I would talk to them, they would want me to actually come back, right? Because I was their eldest son. So during that process, somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt like I wasn't too sure because I was still trying to figure out what my next steps are. But meanwhile, I figured let me just start working. So I found a job locally, and that was in a wireless retail store. Since I was already selling online, I was selling electronics online, so I knew the ins and outs of the business. So like before I decide to move back, let me do this for some time.
What year was this?
This was in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
Yes, or somewhere around there. I
Okay.
could be wrong, but yeah, somewhere in that
Sure.
in that era. And then I did that for a little while, so I got that experience. But meanwhile, while I was doing that, I got an opportunity to buy a retail business of my own. And again, at the back of my mind, I felt like I wasn't too sure of if I wanted to move back to India, and if I do, I would either work in my dad's business or I would figure. But there was so many unknowns and so much uncertainty. I was like, let me do this, and I did that, and then the rest has been history since.
So first one, 2000, 2008 or 9, and now you have 150 plus stores. A lot of uncertainty, which comes with being a business owner, comes with being an entrepreneur. But share with me, you must have had certain clarity of what you wanted that kept you going in spite of all the ups and downs. And today you're extremely successful with location in 4 different states. What's your belief system, Alym? What's your vision? What gets you going every day?
So I would divide that into in a few parts. One is, I'm a big risk taker. So right from the beginning, I've always, for some reason, that risk element has been a little. I've had a high tolerance for that, and that's what gets me going, or that's what brings me in my zone. There's always something that clicks for you and something that excites you, and for me, it's always taking that risk. So that has been my mindset, and that has helped me move forward in a bigger way.
Taking risk. And then I know, of course, you have 3 young kids. How do the kids inspire you every day, Alym?
They're a handful.
Yes.
But they keep me going. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy spending time with them. They're I have my oldest one is Noah,
Yeah.
who's 9 years old. The second one is my daughter Elena, and she's 6, and the youngest one is Rumi, and he's only 2 years old.
Right.
So I really have enjoyed spending time with them. And with Rumi in the picture, he's constantly talking, and he's constantly he's like the glue that keeps us together. At this point, it's
Yes.
a lot of fun with him, and he's constantly making us laugh. And I can't wait to get home every day.
Absolutely. Family is big for you. Now, growing up in India, being of Indian ethnic background, most people are average height. And you are 6'4". In the Indian standards, you're not tall, you are a giant. And you shared with me that growing up, you'd be teased upon, you would be, bullied just because you were, different from other kids. But of course, coming to America, 6'4" is considered tall. It's above average height. But how did you deal with that? This is something that you are born with. Being tall is a blessing, I feel. But that almost became a negative for you growing up because people would pick on you or your friends would tease you. How'd you cope up with that, Alym?
So I was tall from a very young age. I had shot up, I guess, when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And in India, they have this habit of finding your biggest insecurity and they pick on you for that.
Uh-huh.
So even though being tall is an advantage, it was almost like a disadvantage because I would be picked on, I would be bullied just for being tall. To a point where sometimes I would even slouch when we had to line up in school just because I just felt like that was something that I would get picked on.
Okay.
But then once I over the years it became where obviously people want to be tall, like you said, and it was an advantage. And then slowly and steadily, I started realizing that, and then it was definitely something I'm glad I have.
The same with me, growing up, at least for half my life, I used to wear glasses. Then I got LASIK done. And in India, they say chashmudin.
Yeah.
Right? Chashma is glasses, and
Yep.
chashmudin is, and my friends or classmates would tease me. And I could not take them off or get away because I had, very weak eyes. And I would say, you know what? It is what it is. If they're going to call me, they call me. I don't care. But being tall is something you cannot get away with. And those kids were, in a way, bullying you, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Harassment, bullying is a fine line. And if you were so self conscious that you were slouching and walking, that can really, impact your confidence level,
Yes.
right? But coming to America, you walked into the airport, walked into America, like, all right, I've arrived, and this is welcome change over here.
Yeah.
How did your mind shift over there? Because it can have a big impact on kids or young adults when they are conscious about their appearance, whether it's height, whether it's glasses, or the complexion. How did you deal with that, Alym?
So it was definitely a disadvantage, like I said earlier, and like you said, the Chashmudin for me it was Lambu.
Lambu.
That was what everyone would call me, and to a point where you keep hearing it all the time, and if you have that negative connotation, then it does bring you down every time you see it or hear it. But you evolve and you progress, right? So at one point, and then you're also going through certain phases of your life. So when you're younger, you have a lot more insecurity. But as you're growing up, you build your confidence and and slowly and steadily, it does wear off. And then eventually, you just, it doesn't
So
bother
let me
you
ask you a
anymore.
tough question. You ready for it?
Sure.
So you have 3 young kids. Let's just say hypothetically, one of them, is as tall as how you are, and you were bringing them up in India. And one of your boys was being teased, or your daughter was being teased or bullied about the height. What would you say to them today? Knowing who you are today, knowing what life is all about, and you are a successful entrepreneur, with your simple aspects of, mindset with people, especially with kids, what would you tell them today if one of your kids you became aware was being teased about the same example of height? What would you tell them?
So what I would tell them, again, I hope that they don't have to go through that. But what I would tell them is at the end of the day, nobody really cares. People are just dealing with their own insecurities, and somehow they try to put it on you or they try to take it out on you. So I would just tell them that, definitely don't worry about it. A lot of times people are judging you or talking to you from as they are, not as you are. So just definitely don't take it too hard. You do your thing and just ignore the rest.
Love that. I have young boys as well. And not a bullying incident, but someone in my son's class was saying stuff to him that he didn't appreciate. And when he came home and shared with me, what I said to my son was, when people are teasing or bullying or making fun of you, they want you to react, right? If you react with resentment, that, I don't like what you just said, then they will do it more. That's human nature. Oh, it troubles him when I call him Lambu, I'm going to call him more. I'm going to call him more. Or Chashmudin in my case. This is where, when you have a sense of control of emotions, you don't allow the other person to get advantaged on how you reacted. That's what I told my son. And I'm an adult now, and now I play poker for fun.
Yep.
But poker is a game where, you get the cards dealt, but you keep a straight face. Whether you have pocket aces or pocket deuces, you can't show what cards you have. Otherwise, your winnings would be less. And that's what I'm telling my kids, that when people are making fun of you or saying something, just don't react. Make it seem as it does not bother you. They'll do it once, they'll do it 5 times.
Yes.
Eventually, they realize, you know what? Krish or Rishi, they don't get bothered when I do this or that to them. So I think a combination of dialogue having with a kid is really important, because once a confidence is gone, I've seen people fail in life and they second guess everything they do in life, whether it's professionally or personally.
Yep, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's definitely a very strong point, because as parents, it's on us to make sure that those insecurities or those that does not bother them, and you're constantly bringing them up when other people might be bringing them down.
Absolutely. Going back to your journey as an entrepreneur, Alym, you shared with me that in any kind of business, there are ups and there are downs. There are challenging times and there are great times. And you shared with me the mug that you carry with you all the time has something printed on it, right? It says, Alym, stay present, enjoy the now. Share with me about how did you come up with that? If you mind sharing, what were you going through and how does that get you in your zone every day, Alym?
So Kunal, I have this Yeti cup that that I printed a few years ago, and during that time I was going through a stressful time in my business, and a little bit that we talked about was from what was my first store, and now we're at this point we're up to over we're operating over 150 stores and growing as well, and we have a team of over 500 plus people that we employ. But that's the start to now. The process, the journey has been a journey. It's had its ups and it's had its downs. And there are times when you have these low moments and you feel like you question your decisions and you question yourself. People around you are questioning whether those decisions were right or not. But what I've learned over through this journey is that there's always there's never a right answer. You just have to pick or you have to go with whatever your decision is and then just stick to it. Because if the state of indecision is definitely worse than making a bad decision, right? So the time that that I went through that I was talking about a couple of years ago was a pretty stressful time in our business. We were actually in the process of working with we had a few partners at that time, and we were working through some of the dynamics of that business, while also growing in the business as well. But in the big picture, it's brought us to where we are now. So I'm glad I went through those
I
learnings.
really, love what you said about, taking decisions is important. Being indecisive is not the right strategy. Whether it's right or wrong decision, standing behind a decision is the right thing to do. And most people guess, second guess, and then just don't take action. They always want to hit the bullseye. When they take a shot, that's what I want to hit. It's not about hitting the bullseye each time. It's about taking shots, and doing things. And not all decision will end up in your favor, but at least you made the decision or making a decision so that you can move forward. I know you shared with me earlier on today about one tagline, which I love what you shared, was impatience in actions and patience in the results. I love that. Impatience in action, but patience in result. That's your tagline. Talk to me about it.
So, Kunal, what I mean by that is, again, I'll repeat that: impatience in action and patience in results. When you're in a conventional business like I am, it's a process. You cannot do something and expect it to succeed right away, or hit a home run right away. It's always a trickle. It's always slow and steady. And how I had talked to you about my dad earlier, and that's what I had seen all my life. It was always slow and steady. And in my own business, right from when we started, one thing that has helped us grow is investing in our people. At that time, when we had just started, there was several others in the business as well. It's a pretty wide business, and there's several people that do this. But what I saw was people cut corners. They try to run a very lean operation, and the focus is more on profits and profitability more than the process and building a strong business. So right from the beginning, we've invested in people. We've invested in our back office. We've invested in the processes. And that has definitely helped us a lot. We're blessed to have a great team that we work with, great people that we work with, and very smart people, a lot that are actually smarter than me as well. But having those things in place did not mean that it would give me the results immediately. It was, you make those investments, you sow those seeds, and slowly and steadily we were able to scale because we had those things in place. So that's what I mean by impatience in actions and patience in the results. And even now, till this day, we keep improvising and we keep reinvesting in our business and our people. And we pride ourselves in doing that because that's what gets us to where we would like to go.
I think in a way you are blessed that you're blessing 500 plus families because you have 500 employees. You're impacting 500 families and the households positively by providing employment for success, providing an environment for success. It's a blessing. And that's what I love about being in this country. You could buy stuff on eBay and sell stuff on eBay. That's where you started off, and selling electronics, then owning the first store to owning 150 stores in 4 states. It's a drive and hunger. Do you mind sharing with me, Alym, what's your long-term vision? I know you've accomplished a whole lot. You're successful and you're goal-driven, you're motivated-driven. What's your long-term vision? What's that all about?
So, Kunal, I feel like our long-term vision is where we're at now.
Okay.
That's where I looked at myself maybe 10 years ago is where I am at this point. My vision going forward is to be able to balance my life to where I'm spending time in my business and it's a well-oiled machine. To where people are growing, the business is consistent and doing well, and then we are growing slowly and steadily. I'm also very focused on being healthy and then being happy.
Healthy, that reminds me. You eat only one meal a day, except over the weekends. No breakfast, no lunch, and you have one evening meal. And you drink a special drink during the day. It's turmeric. What is it that you drink?
So I have this potion that I make in the morning. It's warm water with lime that I squeeze and apple cider vinegar. And I've been doing this for almost 6 to 7 years now. And that's my morning breakfast and lunch because that's what I sip on. And then it's black coffee after that.
Wow.
So I skip breakfast and lunch, and I have an early dinner at around 5:30 to 6 o'clock when I get home.
And weekends are exception.
Weekends are an exception, yes.
Fantastic. Alym, your journey of coming to America, I do not know about, in college you had employed 20 people, and from 20 to impacting 500 families. Anything else you want to share with me that we may not have talked about today, Alym?
So Kunal, just on this topic of health that we talked about earlier, normally, and then, you asking me about my vision as well. And typically, somebody would say that, hey, I'm at 150 locations. I want to get to like 1,000 or 2,000 or more. And hopefully, slowly and steadily, we'll get there. But there's a lot of importance that in our community and just overall that is placed on making money, and that's how people look at you, and that's how they assess you and they judge you. Is how wealthy you are and how rich you are. So there's wealth, and then there's health, and then there's happiness. And as you evolve through life, your focus is on wealth and health and then happiness. But I feel like not necessarily in that order, right? Our priority should not necessarily be in that order. We should maybe look at it the other way around, where we're looking at our happiness, and then our health, and then the wealth is if it's in your faith, that it'll follow. So that's my personal philosophy, and that's something that I feel is not only worked for me, but it's what keeps me sane and keeps me going.
I love that, Alym. Well, we can always be chasing more money, more
Yep.
success, but being happy is important. But a lot of people confuse happiness with being content. Being content is I'm happy where I'm at. I'm not driven to be more successful. In a way, it leads to people being maybe lazy. But being happy is about feeling accomplished at each stage. I felt accomplished coming to America. I've achieved something that most of my friends had not done. Getting graduate degree, accomplishment. But always, okay, I got this. That's a rearview mirror. It's in the history, it's in the past. What's the next thing I'm looking forward to? So when you said, yes, you have 150 stores and you can acquire more and have more acquisitions around different states and go to 1,000, that's growth for your business. It's important, it's needed to support all the employees. But being happy, that you said, is so important. That if you chase all the money, chase all the success, you're not happy, which I understand, which is relevant to you and me as well, is spending quality time with your loved ones, especially your kids, is my number one priority. That if I'm talking to my boys, I have to be engaged, my phones are off, I'm not disengaged, and have a meaningful conversation. And when you talk to them, the kind of dialogue you have is building the blocks in their brain, and neurons are running in their brain that, okay, this is what I said, this is what Papa said, this is what Mommy says, and they're evolving and building who they are. So I agree with you, spending quality time with your kids, if that's what makes you happy, do that. You like taking vacations, do that. You attending sporting events, but being happy is important. And most people who are always grudging and grinding and dissatisfied, it's the energy, right? If you're irritated and pissed off all the time, things will not go your way. Yes, things go up and things go down. We have our own challenges. But
I see you out there in your front yard, hanging out with your kids, watching them play basketball, and I see that, and it motivates me to come out as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Kunal's out there. Let me come out there, let the kids play. When at the end of the day, when you come home, a sound mind, a healthy body, and a house full of laughter and happiness. That's what you work for.
Yes.
And that's at the end of the day, that's what really matters. All the money that you make in the world,
Correct.
If you don't have one of those three things, it's is it even worth it?
Correct. The money will be left behind, and nobody would care what you did. Our next generation will just take it over. But it's what values we create in them. And I love what you shared, the mindset you're creating in your boys or your kids today, if ever they are in a situation of being bullied or being harassed by their friends or whoever, what do you got to say to them to get them engaged? Alym, I've known you for a few years, but in the last hour or so, what I got to know about you is truly who you are as a person. And I truly believe this thing, Alym, to be successful, you have to be known. And if you're known, some people will like you, some will dislike you. And the ones who like you, some will trust you to do business. So known, like, and then trust. But likability is big. If I don't like you, I would not want to talk to you, engage with you, do business with you. But people think, you know what? I don't care. I'm successful. I'm the best at what I do. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to attract people towards me. No, it's as simple as if you go see a doctor. If you don't like his demeanor or her demeanor, the way they interact with you, you won't feel confident, comfortable going to them for your medical reasons. So likability is huge. And of all the people I know in our neighborhood and our community, you're one person who's liked by everyone. I haven't heard anyone ever say, oh, Alym, no, the amount of success you have, most people get a big head. 150 stores in 4 states is a huge accomplishment. You are helping 500 families be successful today. You have 500 plus employees. It's a huge accomplishment, but every time I engage with you, you can tell the amount of success you have and what impact you're making. So stay humble, smile all the time, and I love being your friend. Thank you, Alym.
Thank you so much, Kunal. It was
I would
a
love to
pleasure.
give you a copy of my book.
Yes.
Okay, I know. Are you a reader?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This book I wrote about a year back. It's on Amazon. But it's my journey about coming to America, and I talk about, the process about you got to have clarity of vision in life. You got to be clear about what value adding to your clients, customers, or to your market. The last is the ask, right? As a cell phone business owner, your ask is, hey, come to my store and buy a cell phone, right? That's your ask. But if you're leading by adding value, best customer service, best after-sales services, all of those things of value, then the sale of getting 1 or 10 cell phones sold becomes the easy part. So that's what I talk about in my book, Alym, and I absolutely loved engaging with you today and would love for you to read the book and give me some feedback.
Great. Thank
Awesome.
you, Kunal.
Thank
you
you,
so
Alym.
much.
Thank
It
you,
was
buddy.
a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.